Welcome back, everybody. No Code Podcast, Season 2, Episode 8. I'm on overtime duty today. This is my second podcast I've recorded in the same day. Never been done before. So really excited to have the Part 2 guest today, which is Mr. Ryan Simonetti, the CEO and co-founder of Convene. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Awesome to be here. And I guess nothing like being number 2.
Hey, man, I had to go through a lot of your people. You've got the admin team, the marketing staff, public relations, security. It was tough to get you, but I finally got you here.
We're saving the best for last, man. I got it.
Absolutely. Ryan, obviously you and I are connected by one of the greatest men in the greater Philadelphia region, at least, maybe beyond that. Mr. Matt Davis, JLL broker out of our Berwyn office. And, he set this up and, really happy that he gave us that honor and, continue to just kind of worship at the altar of Davis,
Yep. A legend in his own mind, no doubt.
Great guy. We brought him back to JLL a couple years ago. He was out doing his office furniture gig for a few years, but he found his way back to JLL, and he's been crushing it ever since. I will honestly give him a lot of credit. He's been buying into the JLL platform, our technology, our staff, our analyst team, marketing, the whole deal. So we'll give him some props.
No, you got to give credit where credit is due. So he's one of my best friends, an amazing human, and as a really dear friend of his, I just want to say thank you to you and the team at JLL for saving him from the furniture industry. So glad to see him back in the JLL uniform.
Yeah, we got him. We had a couple nice lunches, heart to hearts, before he made the move, and we convinced him that we could, we could give him what he needs to be successful. And he has gone out and he's been busting it, man. Pandemic be damned. He's been making the calls and doing the things he's got to do.
That's Villanova grind, man. Villanova grinder.
That's right. That's right. So we are both, speaking of Nova, I believe both 2004 undergrads, correct?
Yeah, and then I pulled a little bit of a Van Wilder, so I ended up not graduating until 2005. But yes, I was originally part of the 2004 class.
Good deal. Yeah, I can't believe we didn't cross paths. I mean, we probably did, but maybe we just don't remember. But
I would say we did and probably. I would say we did and probably don't remember.
Yeah, exactly. That'll happen. But yeah, I was in accounting undergrad, and you were finance, correct?
Yeah, and in econ too.
Gotcha. Yeah, we definitely, I'm sure, ran into each other quite a bit back in the day, but great experience. Unfortunately for our boys, not a great showing in yesterday's Big East opener against Georgetown, but
tough.
We'll have to see how they do in a week or two here.
Yeah, I mean, tough. Injuries, not a ton of depth, but we'll see. Hopefully, fingers crossed they rally in the tournament.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any Georgetown friends by any chance?
I do actually. Interesting Convene story. We ended up acquiring a business in Philadelphia, which was called The Hub. We now have obviously converted it and to Convene, but that was actually owned by two Georgetown guys, great guys. So I do have quite a few friends that went to Georgetown.
Nice. So my buddy from high school, Steve Neathold, I get a text message yesterday about 3 hours after the game. It just says, "Hi, Georgetown guy." Just gave me the old poke. Hey, buddy. Yeah, I'm I know. Okay,
I know, but do you know how many of those texts we've gotten to send literally over the last decade? I mean,
yeah. You're very right there. We've had the better end of that for sure over the last 10 years. But no, he had to get it in there. I understand. You got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But
So
last time
listen,
I
man.
checked, 2 national championships. So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So, today's an interesting day, March 12th, because I went back and I was looking at my emails from a year ago because I knew coming up on today, I'm like, it's about the 1 year anniversary of things going real crazy around the world. And sure enough, I pulled up an old email from 3/12/20, whereas my email to the JLL Philadelphia team that we were shutting down all the offices a year ago today. So definitely a tough anniversary, but I'm sure you can relate to it too in the Convene world. When I'm assuming right around the same time, you guys had some really tricky decisions to make, I'm guessing.
Yeah, look, I mean, we actually had a conversation about this. We were reflecting on this as a leadership team actually this week, and it's hard to believe it's been a year. I would say for all of us has probably been one of the most challenging and difficult years that any of us have had personally, professionally. I don't know a single person that hasn't experienced loss in some way. Um, I think a lot of things have been taken away from all of us, and in some instances, our health, people we love and care about. And it was a really challenging time for Convene. Had to make some really, really difficult decisions quickly, including shutting down all of our locations to protect the health and safety of our team and our clients. And we also had to make some really difficult cost reduction decisions. We
Right.
thank God we were so proactive. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the leadership lessons I've learned in managing through a crisis. But we had to make some really tough human decisions quickly. I think by the end of March, we had laid off or furloughed almost 80 plus or 85% of our staff. We went from 1,000
Wow.
employees to 130 or 40.
Wow.
Literally overnight. So, look, it was hard. With that said, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And, I think while we went through a lot, we've also transformed a lot and have persevered. We've innovated and, we're still standing. And, I
Yeah.
think in a really exciting place coming out of this, I think Convene, and what we do will be more in demand than ever. And, I'm really excited, obviously with light at the end of the tunnel, but also seeing, what we can do as an organization with some of the new capabilities that we've built over the next, 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. I think, can totally relate to what you're saying there in terms of, what we had to do with JLL. We didn't have to do, luckily, quite that level of reduction because our business is a little different. It's more on the servicing side, and I guess unfortunately for our brokers, if there's less deals to be had, then on our end there's less that we pay because they are they're commission
Yep.
based. So
Yep.
you almost have profit protection kind of built in there. But in our specifically our project management group, which we call PDS, those are base salary and bonus people that work on jobs. And when the jobs stop, the construction management, the renovations, the new builds, when those things stall or slow down or stop, you can't keep all those people around. And that was on our end, that was the really tough decisions that we had to make in April, and then kind of another smaller round in about September or so, when we were sort of like, assessing the damage at that point. So yeah, it's really, really hard, and we had to face it and we had to make the moves. But to your latter point, coming out of this, it's really exciting to see how we can adjust and how we can tweak and how we can actually identify new opportunities out of a really horrible situation.
Yeah. And, it's interesting. I mean, I've learned and grown a lot this year, especially as a leader. And, I've been asked oftentimes about, kind of leading through crisis. And there's a couple principles I would take away from this. The first is accept reality. And accepting reality is oftentimes not easy. The second thing is plan for the worst.
Right.
And the third thing is have the courage to act. Right. A lot of times, the decisions that need to get made, but it takes courage to act on them. Right. And whether those are the hard decisions like shutting locations down or headcount reductions, which you obviously both of our firms, and had to do, but it's also the courage to act on new opportunities. Right. And we started to see this emerging trend towards hybrid. We saw our meeting and event and conferencing clients moving quickly to virtual. And the easy thing to do would have been to do nothing, right? To feel bad for ourselves, to focus on all the negativity, to focus on the unknown and the uncertainty, and when does our core business come back? And I'm really proud of our team and organization that we didn't do that, and that we had the courage to act and to move, and most importantly, to innovate. And we've launched a entire new virtual and hybrid meeting and conferencing technology solution. We've hosted hundreds of virtual events on that platform, thousands of attendees from all over the world. We recently announced an incredible collaboration with Marriott, where we'll be one of the virtual and hybrid technology partners across 1,000 of their full service hotels, where we can actually start to decouple a portion of the Convene experience from our own spaces that we controlled and actually bring that experience to other venues, other locations. And so, they always say, don't let a good crisis go to waste. And I'm really proud that, we didn't let it go to waste. And, I think we're going to come out of this a stronger company, definitely tougher. There's no doubt about that. And very, very excited about the future that we have in front of us.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds incredible in terms of some of those adjustments and new avenues you're exploring. I think, your point about the courage to act and acceptance is huge because, you could see it as the crisis was unfolding. I think we did a great job at JLL of, first off, communication. I mean, we were meeting every day. 8 a.m. we had a standing call with our local team, all leaders, all service lines. Even if it was something that didn't have a whole lot to do with somebody's individual group, we still wanted that voice in the room. We had property management, project management, operations, brokerage, all service lines involved. And we were talking to one another on a daily basis. I would say for the first, I don't know, probably 45 days of things really unfolding in mid-March. Yep. And then we had our regional calls and we had national calls. And, it got to a point where probably 45 days in, you sort of got a little bit, maybe a little bit fatigued with that kind of thing, but it was very valuable to kind of have that connectivity and that communication of, number one, how are we going to kind of accept the problem and deal with it? And then, you saw certain people that were very quick to understand, okay, I need to take immediate action and here's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to be decisive. And then you saw some other people that were a little more, I don't know, maybe it was almost paralysis by fear of how the heck are we going to handle this?
Yeah, look, it's interesting seeing people respond to moments like this, right? I think you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about people, and how people respond to these types of situations.
Yeah.
Some people look for an exit door really quick. Some people, it's deer in headlights. And then, you have a group of people that, kind of hops into the trenches and, says, let's go. And, thankfully for us, we had an incredibly strong core team of people that, were extremely resilient, committed, and, were willing to hop in and do the hard work. And, thank God we had them. And, I'm very appreciative and have been extremely inspired, probably more inspired by a group of people ever in my whole life than I have been by, our team the last year. And so,
yeah, that's great. Well, listen, I can tell from just talking with Meg and Maya and a few other people that I've been talking with over the last week or two as we've been setting this up, it seems like you have really, really great people that are very professional, very attentive, very nice. And it's always good to have that because, I mean, you know how it is. You can't do this stuff alone. I mean, you need support. And, you know, I've got great support at JLL, but I talked to some other people at other companies, you know, and even outside of the real estate realm where, you know, they're overloaded with work. They don't have enough support. They don't have that really great, you know, structure or backbone of an organization. And that can be tough for people. You know, you wind up getting pulled in a lot of different directions, a lot of rabbit holes that you maybe didn't need to go down. But because of an organization that's inefficient or understaffed, you can, you know, you can find yourself in some tough spots.
Yeah, or doesn't have strong leadership that has a clear vision and helps the organization prioritize on what's important and what's not. You know, it's tough in a crisis, deciphering between urgent and important, which is a big difference, is hard. And
Yeah.
you know, I don't know how you guys felt, but the first 6 months of this was, you know, I felt like we were in a deep fog where, you know, you couldn't see up, you couldn't see down, you couldn't see left and right. And it's a lot of trust, you know, to kind of pick a direction and move. And that requires, you know, strong leadership and strong vision. And, you know, again, that requires a team.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think you know, a lot of people are talking about the you know, the COVID-15. Maybe they gained like 15 pounds during COVID. From my stress, I think I lost 10 pounds in the first 2 months of COVID. Between being so stressed about what was going on and so busy with all these calls and trying to figure stuff out and just like not having time to eat or just forgetting to eat. I was like the opposite. But then I made
Yeah.
up for it later. I
Well,
like lost.
I'll tell you, you're lucky because I put on that quarantine 15. And when I get stressed, like I become a snack monster, and being
Okay.
home, even though we've got this thing called Nourish, which is like our, you know, it's like an experiential pantry. We've got like, you name it, all the goodies at Convene. It's different than being home. Uh,
Yeah.
and, you know, so unfortunately that refrigerator was a little bit too close to where I was working from for the first 6 months of this.
Gotcha. Yeah, understandable. So let's rewind a little bit, and I'm curious. You know, one of the themes of this season's podcast has kind of accidentally been entrepreneurship and people that go out and take a risk and a gamble and bet on themselves. Um, how did that happen for you with Convene? Like the start of it, the inception, the idea. How did you bring it to light, and what kind of inspired you to do that? I'm super curious to hear about that.
So, you know, I'd say my entrepreneurial journey starts way back. You know, I was fortunate enough to be born into a family where, you know, my dad was an entrepreneur, and you know, owned a couple different small businesses until he ended up buying the business that he still owns today. Which I don't know if you've ever had a Shake Shack burger, but it's on a Martin potato roll. And so my dad ended up
Oh,
buying a delivery route in New Jersey. And
nice.
as a young kid, I spent a lot of time with him in the summers, like literally like on his truck working with him,
That's
and learned
awesome.
a lot. So for me, ever since I was a young kid, I knew at some point in my life I always aspired to be like him and own and lead my own business. At Villanova, did a lot of entrepreneurial stuff. If you were buying a spring break trip or buying a ticket to a bus party, uh, or a used textbook, it was probably me and my partner Chris that were selling it to you. So I would say
Nice.
I always had that kind of entrepreneurial hustle spirit. We actually won the first ever startup competition at
Oh, that's
Villanova.
awesome.
Uh, got one of those huge checks, like those billboard style checks, and I think it was like 2,500 or $5,000. But at the time, like you're a college kid, that's a lot of cash. And
That's a
you know,
lot of
we
money.
had all these big plans. We're like, you know, we're gonna take this and we're gonna put it into this business we're gonna start together right out of college. And then that didn't happen. I think we cashed in, like took it to Kelly's or Mahoney's or PJ's and spent it at the bar. But um,
Brownies.
brownies, exactly. So
Yeah.
all the spots. Long story short, I think kind of entrepreneurship has always been in me and been with me. It's kind of the lens I've always looked at the world. If I see a problem, to me, it's a business opportunity. And,
Right.
I was fortunate enough, obviously, to go to Villanova, great school, left Villanova to go to Lehman Brothers in their global real estate group, worked in the structured products team, working on all those nasty things that created the financial crisis like CMBS and CDOs. Then wanted to do something more entrepreneurial and be in a more startup type environment. I mean, Lehman was an incredible training ground and worked with and learned from some amazing people. But I wanted to be in like a real growth environment. And so I was fortunate enough to get a job as a senior analyst at a company called Gramercy Capital, which eventually became a publicly traded company. Used to trade under the ticker GIT, Gramercy Investment Trust, and got lucky. I kind of jumped into a rocket ship when I first started. I don't know if I might have been the sixth or seventh hire, a couple $100 million in assets under management. And in a matter of a few years, we went from hundreds of millions of assets under management to billions. And I ended up leading one of our investment teams at a very young age. And then when 2008 and 2009 financial crisis happened, I actually got asked to kind of help start our workout restructuring and special servicing business. So for almost 2 years, I worked out a few $billion portfolio of assets that we had invested in. And it just so happened most were hotel assets and office buildings.
Right.
And I had spent a lot of time, our parent and kind of lead investor was SL Green, the large office landlord in New York. And this was at the time where lifestyle as a movement was moving from hospitality like the W, Ian Schrager, boutique hotel. That kind of hospitality first design forward experience was also in fitness with Equinox. It was coming into residential, into high-end condo development. And, what was interesting to me is I said, well, no one's ever really applied hospitality to office or brought hospitality to the workplace. And so the vision for Convene was, how do you bring hospitality to an office building and into the workplace in a way that creates value for the asset owner by making the building more attractive, the same way a hotel owner thinks about experience driving value in a hotel asset. And at the same time, how do you create a better experience for the tenants and their employees and allow them maybe not to have to deliver as many of those services themselves, but actually outsource some of that hospitality to us and the infrastructure that we were building in the building with the landlord. And we started out with meeting, event, and conferencing space. The idea was, how do we deliver that experience better than anyone else in the world? We vertically integrated all of the different touch points that make that experience. So food and beverage, design, conference planning, culinary, technology, all of these sorts of things to really control that experience end to end. And I would say about 4 years in, as we were scaling, we saw this incredible opportunity start to vertically deliver hospitality services to the tenants in the building. So we started to do things like vertical catering. So just like in a hotel, I would get room service. Well, if you're a tenant in a Convene building, you can get room service. Then we started to expand into different types of amenities. We can run your tenant lounge. We can run fitness, wellness. Co-working is happening. Fine. Yeah. Like landlord, you want to deliver a flex-based product. We can also deliver that. And so, pre-COVID, what we ended up building was, a portfolio of 34 locations, 1.5 million square feet. We were kind of powering the hospitality experience in about 30 million square feet of Class A office buildings. And, we're on a rocket ship that ended up bumping into a brick wall about a year ago. And but it's been an amazing, ride and journey. I think both as an entrepreneur and a founder, but, more and more now as an executive. And,
Yeah.
Being an entrepreneur is hard. Transitioning from an entrepreneur to an executive is really, really hard. And, it's been interesting kind of seeing not just the company through that life cycle, but also getting a chance to see myself on that journey.
Sure.
And it's been a great run, a great ride. I'm more excited about what we're doing today than I've probably ever been, even as tough as the last year has been. And, I think for anyone out there that's thinking about doing something on their own, the hardest step is the first step.
Mm-hmm.
I say, entrepreneurship, you walk to the end of the cliff and you can't see the bottom, right? And you just have to trust that when you jump, you're going to land. And, it's definitely, one of the most rewarding things, at least that I've done in my life. That's for sure.
Yeah. Anyone I think that you talk to that's an entrepreneur, and especially like serial entrepreneurs or even entrepreneurs that started one thing that just kind of blew up, like in your example, it's a huge amount of stress, but most of the time it's a good stress. It's you're so excited and motivated and inspired by what you're doing, and you're going to have super stressful days and meetings and moments that, people that work a 9 to 5 in a nice cushy corporation maybe don't experience, but that kind of, zest for life that you see entrepreneurs have. I've always been, really envious of that, and really kind of inspired me to try to do some of my own things, and maybe not to the extent of what you're doing or some of my other friends in that space, but even starting this podcast. I mean, that's kind of where this came from, was midst of COVID, need a creative outlet, got to figure out something that I can own, that, and I don't make a dollar off this, but it's something fun to do, that I can put out into the world, that belongs to me and really nobody else,
And you're building something.
Yeah.
Right. And, to me, people always ask me, like, how would you define yourself? And I'm like, I'm a builder. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I really love to build teams, to build products, to build businesses. And I love that journey and that process. And I think one of the things that successful people do is they fall in love with something. And when you fall in love with something and are passionate about something, it's not work.
Yeah.
It's sacrifice, but it's not work.
Yep.
And I think those are two fundamentally different things. And I've been blessed and fortunate, that, every day for the last, 11 plus years now, I get to do something I love, that I'm extremely passionate about, that I continuously want to get better at. And, I count my blessings for that one, every day. Cause a lot of people don't have that. A lot of friends of mine don't have that. So
even if they are
congrats
really...
to you for, for doing this and scratching that itch.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I got a million different hobbies, but this is one that
I see that guitar
like,
back there too.
Yeah,
so I know that's another one of the creative outlets.
We got the axe back there. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's good to have that, though. It's good to have the balance. It's good to have the release. And it's life's too short to just kind of do one thing. And I think the days of, I mean, look, for some people it works. You want to go punch a clock, you want to go work 9 to 5 every day, and that's fine. I mean, if that gives you, if that's good for you, then that's great. But, I think for me and for others that I think a little bit differently, it's like you gotta nurture some other things too, and try to develop any way you can. And that's what I try to do. But yeah, it's certainly been fun to have opportunities to speak with people like yourself and others that are kind of carving unique paths in business and in life is so interesting to me, just to learn about what they're doing,
Yeah, I mean, everyone has a story, which I love, and everyone's story is unique and different and inspiring in its own way. And, Yeah, I mean, I've been equally fortunate, both with mentors and, people I've had a chance to meet along the way. There's so much out there in this world to be inspired about and people to be
Yeah.
inspired about. And, I know it's tough when we all go through something like we have the last year, but, there's
Yeah.
still so much amazing out there.
Yeah, for sure. And what I think is, there's positives to draw out of this, as hard as it is to say that, because the overall human cost of this is, pretty much not worth anything positive coming out of it in my mind. But when you have this weird, unique opportunity to have a year where you can be self-reflective and you can start thinking about other things outside of what your day-to-day is, that's when some creative outlets can really open up. I mean, I've never had, and I said this on one of my last podcasts, and I've told it to some other people I talk to on a regular basis. With all the running around I used to do, like networking events, lunches, coffees, recruiting stuff through JLL, I don't think I ever would have had the opportunity to sit back and figure out this podcast or figure out some other stuff I've gotten into in the last year, which is, my wife and I have a kind of a side business called Lightning Financial, and we've been able to pick up some more work in that realm too, and even get invested in one of my friends' deals down in the DC area. Like, that never happens if I'm running around in a normal Tony Giuliano year of just bouncing around like a maniac. I had this strange opportunity to kind of take a step back and almost like slow down to speed up in a way, to borrow a phrase from my buddy Matt Blank.
Yeah, well, I was actually, it's funny you say this. I was talking to uh, a mentor of mine actually this morning, and really successful. And I think he just celebrated his 70th or 75th birthday, something like that. And, we were talking about his own reflection. And, he said, he was somebody that was always, moving, right? Super
Yeah.
successful, on to the next thing. And, he said something interesting. And he said, one, to your point, like the human cost of this and the pain and suffering, hard to put into words, right? And I think all our hearts break for everyone that was impacted. There's no doubt about it. But what he said stuck with me today, which is, he said, I walk a little bit more and I think a little bit more and I'm a little bit less impatient. And honestly, those are three things that I think all of us should probably be doing a little bit more of, right?
Yeah.
Is creating that room to breathe, to think. I know for me, I'm the type of person, I get to the top of a mountain, I look at the view for about 15 seconds, and then I go looking for the next mountain to climb, and preferably one that's harder than the one I just got off of. And what I realized in that was that I was never really taking enough moments or taking enough of a step back, to really appreciate, and not just appreciate the journey, and I think to some extent savor the moments, but also for my family, my wife, my
Yeah.
kids, the ability to spend this type of time with them, especially my kids at their ages, has been, the greatest gift. And, I've been
Yeah.
able to see and experience their life and them grow, which happens literally daily, in a way that I would have never had the opportunity to do if this didn't happen. So,
Yeah. I
again,
could not.
it's never, life is never all bad and it's never all good. And as hard as this is and as dark as it's been, there's definitely, I think, silver linings that each of us individually, I'm sure, can hold on to, as we look back on this experience,
Yeah.
years from now.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I think that's beautifully said. This opportunity to, you know, by necessity, sort of maybe shrink your inner circle is not necessarily a bad thing. Like, of course, we all want to get out and we all want to go see people that we haven't seen in a long time. Like, everybody wants to do that. I fully intend on doing that. Probably.
I can't wait. By the way, New York's coming back. You can feel it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And look, I think all of us long for that, right? We're social
Yeah.
creatures. I know our clients and members, can't wait to get back into the office. And maybe they're not going to go every day, but they can't wait. And
Yeah.
we're talking to our meeting clients and event clients now, and everyone, the minute that they can, they want to get back to being back together face to face, right? I mean, we're inherently social beings, and I know I miss the heck out of my friends and coworkers, and fingers crossed, hopefully we keep rolling these vaccines out. No variants happen that we can't control. And, I think by September, maybe we're not back to what life used to be like, but hopefully we're pretty darn close.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So speaking of that, coming out of this and the future of flexibility in office work, I'm very bullish on that. I think, in the beginning of the pandemic, I can remember even some conversations I might have had with people or just reading stuff out there. It's like, oh, well, co-working's dead. I mean, you can't do that ever again. Like it's just finished. But as time has gone on, I actually think it's the opposite. I think the flexibility of office life is going to be bigger than ever because we've all realized that we can do what we have to do in a lot of different ways. And what we want when we go to work, I think, and I think our survey data kind of proves this out too, is that we want to be connected with the people we're working with, but we want the space to do it in a more comfortable way. We want to feel like we're at home while we're at the office. And I actually think, I hope the mindset of office occupiers has shifted a little bit to understand that, like, if you spend the money to make that possible, or if you partner with a Convene or whomever it may be to kind of create that vibe, that can really drive productivity. It can drive creativity, and it can lead to a lot of success versus just coming back into, standard office life cubicles and, oh, we're just going to, it's going to be every other cube for a while, but then eventually we're just going to be packed in like depressed sardines in our life.
So first, just 100% partner with Convene. Let's just get that out there right now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
If you're looking to deliver the best day at work, physically, digitally, hybrid, call Convene, no doubt.
That's right.
With that said, though, I think what we've had the benefit of doing a lot of research. We practice something called human-centered design or design thinking, which is this methodology that's heavily based in research, both primary, secondary, but in particular observational. And we've been doing a lot of research for a long time. And what our research has told us, not just in the last 12 months, but literally almost the last 10 years, is that what people want is choice, flexibility, and experience.
Yeah.
And if anything, COVID is accelerating the trend towards those three things. And if I think about what is going to be important coming out of COVID, it's if I was in workplace strategy, or I was the head of people and culture, if I was the CEO or CFO or COO, I would say, how do we design a workplace strategy that supports in as seamless and frictionless and as meaningful a way as humanly possible those three things? Yeah. Flexibility, choice, where I work, when I work, how I work, and experience. And that experience is no longer just about what's my experience when I'm in the office, which I think all of us knows has to be different and has to be elevated. But what is that experience when I'm working from my home office? Do I have the right technology? Do I have the right space? Do I have the right chair? Do I have the right furniture? Is my company's IT and network infrastructure allow me to log on and do the things that I need to do from home? And then when I'm participating in something remotely or virtually, whether it's a meeting, a conference, a company town hall, whether I'm a speaker at a conference, how do I engage virtually in a way that I haven't been able to in the past? And if I think about where is Convene going, and we've kind of been calling it Convene 2.0 coming out of COVID, is we want to be able to be the leader in this new hybrid way of working, right? We want to be able to partner with progressive organizations, with progressive landlords to help design and service premium places to meet, to work, to host inspiring events. And we don't just want to be able to do that physically. We must be able to do that digitally. And what we've built is this whole suite of digital solutions that allows us to support our clients in this new hybrid way of working, which sometimes will be at my HQ, sometimes will be remotely from home, or sometimes will now be from a third space, whether that's Starbucks, a co-working space, a beach in Costa Rica, doesn't really matter. Like, and how do I, as a company, how do I create consistency across these different touch points?
Right.
So if I was consulting to those customers, or if I was one of those customers, these are the things that I'd really be asking myself. And obviously in the short term, it's like, how do we get people back to work?
Yeah.
How do we do it in a safe way? But longer term, as we think about this never-ending war for talent, attracting it, retaining it, inspiring it, I think to be competitive a decade from now, you're going to have to figure out a solution to solving those three things: flexibility, choice, and experience. And you're going to have to be able to do it in a very deliberate way and deliver it at a very, very, very high level.
I could not agree more with that. And, one thing you just mentioned, the war for talent. I mean, the war for talent was raging prior to the pandemic, and it's going to be maybe even more aggressive than it was before that, because what you've seen is obviously, some jobless numbers that got pretty ugly, and then they got a lot better, and then they're looking pretty good in the last report. You definitely have a big gap of where those jobless numbers are between, lower income people and people of color, and that's a whole other very complicated problem that as a society we're going to have to solve coming out of this. But for the office based talent around technology or financial services or real estate or whatever it may be, more than ever, you're going to have people that say, look, I can work from home and I can be in the office and I can live here or I want to live there. There's so many more factors now that's going to contribute to that war for talent. That's going to be far more than just a paycheck, far more than what you can pay somebody to come do a job. Because if I can live, I live in Medford, New Jersey. It's about 24 miles from Center City, Philadelphia. It's normal times, it's an hour drive or so. But if I have an option between something right next door versus something that's an hour and a half away, but the hour and a half away is flexible and I can balance my life with that, all of a sudden I'm more open and marketable to different things, and that's going to be a huge pull, I think, for people coming out.
Yeah, and I don't think that's going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And I also don't think the office is going anywhere, right? Like there is a place for a dynamic corporate office experience, whether you do it yourself or you outsource it to somebody like Convene.
Yeah.
Because bringing people together, look, we've done a lot of digital-based collaboration and used all sorts of collaboration tools. But there is a power of bringing people together that is undeniable, right? There's certain problems that you need to be together in a room to solve. Building culture. I can tell you now, running a fully remote company, at least in the short term, that there's parts of building that culture that we would love to have happen and need to happen in our corporate office. So if anything, I would actually say the office doesn't become less important. It actually becomes more important because what it needs to do now is a little bit different than maybe what it had to do in the past. Is it's not a place where people come to do work, because I can do work from anywhere. It's the hub in which we bring our team and clients together to collaborate, to build culture, to maintain brand, to innovate, to inspire, right? And if anything, that headquarters experience, that corporate office experience needs to be so much better and do so much more for companies and their teams than it ever has in the past. And I think that that's an incredible opportunity for the industry, for our clients, for landlords, for service providers like Convene, for consultants and advisors like JLL.
Yeah.
And I think the next 3 to 5 years, while a lot is uncertain, is going to be a defining time for our industry and an incredible opportunity for us to all step up and deliver more, and to do it more sustainably, to do it more equitably, which you were starting to pick up on some of the challenges we have in this country based on social economic class and sexual orientation, all sorts of things like that. So I don't know. I'm very bullish, and as you can tell, passionate about the future of work, and I have confidence that we will figure it out.
Yeah, I do too. I think there's a lot of hope right now. There's a lot of optimism and a lot of work to do too. I mean, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be complicated. It's going to require a lot of people in the industry and outside of the industry working together to make it happen. And, but I do think, leaders like yourself out there and, forward-thinking companies and forward-thinking people, we can get it done. We can definitely get it done. And hopefully, a year from now, we'll be starting to see what the new office life can really be in the long run, in the next 5 to 10 years. And hopefully it's a lot more comfortable and enjoyable and a place that you really want to go to, so you can collaborate and bring those great ideas to the table.
100%. And the key thing that you said is we need to collaborate together, right?
Yeah.
There's not a single company or a single team that's going to figure out the answer. And it really does require a deep collaboration between our clients, their advisors, service providers like Convene, and asset owners to really come together, probably in a way that we never have in the past collaboratively, to really kind of help design this future together.
I mean, or there's one other strategy, and that's just give it to Davis. Let him run with it.
Just call him in.
Yeah, just say, hey, buddy.
I think David Davis was a closer, right? When he was a pitcher, or was he a starting guy?
He was a relief pitcher.
Was he
closer?
relief?
I don't know. Yeah, he was a reliever. Yeah,
I think he comes in hot. He's only got about 2 innings in him, at least from what I've seen. So
come in throwing smoke, and then after like 15 pitches, you got to get him out of there.
Yeah. He's always been a 1 inning guy.
Oh man. Well, listen.
Poor Davis.
Yeah,
we love you, Davis.
We do. Well, listen, man. On that note, I think it's late Friday afternoon here. I know that I'm going to need a cocktail in a couple minutes here, and it's time to unwind for the weekend. So,
100%.
Ryan, I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for coming on. This was a great conversation. I can't wait to share it out there for everybody, and really can't wait to see what Convene does in the near future here.
I appreciate it. I really enjoyed the conversation. There's no doubt we had a couple late nights at Bartley and just don't remember. And always love to see a fellow Villanova alum doing great stuff. So congrats to you. Keep grinding on the podcast. And really appreciate you having me on the show today.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks.